Good evening, everybody. This is Chapter 10 for Principles of Management, Managing Organizational Structure and Culture. Learning objectives for tonight: identify the factors that influence managers' choice of an organizational structure, explain how managers group tasks into jobs that are motivating and satisfying for employees, describe the types of organizational structure managers can design and explain why they choose one structure over another. Explain why managers must coordinate job functions and divisions using the hierarchy of authority and integrating mechanisms. List the 4 sources of organizational culture and explain why and how a company's culture can lead to competitive advantage. What is organizational structure? Slide number 3. Organizational architecture. The organizational structure controls systems, culture, and human resource management systems that together determine how efficiently and effectively organizational resources are used. Organizing, process by which managers establishing the structure of working relationships to allow employees to achieve organizational goals efficiently and effectively. Designing organizational structure continued. Organizational structure, formal system of task and reporting relationships that coordinates and motivates organizational members so they work together to achieve organizational goals. Organizational design is the process by which managers create a specific type of organizational structure and culture so that a company can operate in the most efficient and effective way. The way an organizational structure works out depends on the choices managers make about, number 1, how to group tasks into individual jobs, how to group jobs into functions and divisions, and how to allocate authority and coordinate functions and divisions. Figure 10.1 talk about factors affecting our organizational structure. Number 1, the organizational environment, technology, human resources, and of course the strategy used to determine the design of an organizational structure. Job design. Slide number 9 is the process by which managers decide how to divide tasks into specific jobs. The appropriate division of labor results in an effective and efficient workforce. Slide 10. More job design. Job simplification is the process of reducing the number of tasks that each worker performs. Job enlargement, increasing the number of different tasks in a given job by changing the division of labor. And job enrichment, increasing the degree of responsibility a worker has over a job. Slide 11 is job enrichment, empowering workers to experiment to find new or better ways of doing the job, encouraging employees to develop new skills, allowing employees to decide how to work, and allowing workers to monitor and measure their own performance. Slide 12, job characteristics model. Skill variety, employee uses a wide range of skills. Task identity, employee is involved in all tasks of the job from beginning to end of the production process. Task significance, workers feel the task is meaningful to the organization. They're not just scanning documents all day, doing things that are boring. They're doing something meaningful and impressive in their own minds and something that makes them happy. Autonomy, employee has freedom to schedule tasks and carry them out. No one's micromanaging, no one's sitting on their heads. Feedback, employees get direct information about how well the job is done. It's very important to know where you stand with your boss. Group jobs into functions, an organizational structure composed of all the departments that an organization requires to produce its goods or services. We see in the chart 10.2 the functional structure of Pier 1 imports. You have the executive vice CFO, you have executive vice presidents merchandising, you have executive vice president global supply chain, executive vice president planning and allocations, executive vice presidents human resources, executive vice presidents marketing, executive vice president compliance and general counsel secretary, and of course senior VP of chief information officer. These are examples of the functional structure of Pier 1 imports. Slide 15. Advantages: encouraging learning from others doing similar jobs, easy for managers to monitor and evaluate workers because within the department it's easier just to group people together, allows managers to create the set of functions they need in order to scan and monitor the competitive environment. Slide number 16. Disadvantages: difficult for departments to communicate with others, preoccupation with other department, and losing sight of organizational goals. Slide number 17 is an example of AC Moore Arts and Crafts. You can click on that. It basically is organized with a functional structure. Examples of divisions are marketing and merchandising, stores and loss prevention, store operations, merchandise administration, real estate, and legal. All examples of functional departmental areas. Slide 18, we'll talk about divisional structure, an organizational structure composed of separate business units within which are the functions that work together to produce a specific product for a specific customer. For example, it is based on product, market, or geographic. Slide number 19 talks about product, market, and geographic structures. You could look at that. You could also jump to the index and it'll tell you more information. Slide 20. Product structure. Managers place each distinct product line or business in its own self-contained division. Divisional managers have the responsibility for devising an appropriate business level strategy to allow the division to compete effectively in its own industry or market. Slide 21. Product structure allows functional managers to specialize in one product area. Division managers become experts in their area, removes need for direct supervision of division by corporate managers. Divisional management improves the use of resources. Slide 22. Geographic structure. Divisions are broken down by geographic location, such as Northeast, Northwest, or different continents, different states, different countries, etc. You can have a global geographic structure. That's more of the continental structure that I just spoke about. Managers locate different divisions in each of the world's regions where the organization operates. Generally occurs when managers are pursuing a multi-domestic strategy. Slide 23 gives an example of global geographic and global product structures. You could refer to the slide for the actual graph. And then you could jump to Appendix 3 for the description. It's quite self-explanatory. Slide 24. Market structure groups divisions according to the particular kinds of customers they serve. Also, allows managers to be responsive to the needs of their customers and act flexibly in making decisions in response to customers' changing needs. Slide 25, matrix structure, an organizational structure that simultaneously groups people and resources by function and product. So it's kind of a hybrid. The structure is very flexible. Each employee has two bosses, which can be problematic. Slide 26 is an example of a matrix structure. You can jump to Appendix 4 for a description. Slide 27, product team structure, structure in which employees are permanently assigned to a cross-functional team and report only to the product team manager or to one of the manager's direct subordinates. It does away with dual reporting relationships and a two-boss management system, which can be difficult because it's always hard for people to basically report to two people. You can never really know whom to serve first, who to ask, who to tell, and people get upset at each other when you have two bosses. Slide 28, cross-functional team is a group of managers brought together from different departments to perform organizational tasks. Slide 29, figure 10.5, product team structure. Again, it's a graph showing you what a product team structure looks like. It's self-evident. You could look at appendix, jump to the bottom link to Appendix 5 for a description of that. And we could do that now, actually. I'm going to jump to Appendix 5. Basically, in this chart, the product team structure is outlined with the CEO overseeing all departments, engineering, sales, and marketing, product design, and research and development. There is then a network of connections which connect these departments with product teams, which consist of one product team manager, 4 team members each. These teams then feed into their own manufacturing units. Again, it's somewhat hybrid, but you don't have two bosses. The network suggests that any department relates to any product team. We move on to the next slide. Allocating authority. Authority is the power to hold people accountable for their actions and to make decisions concerning the use of organizational resources. Hierarchy of authority, an organization's chain of command, specifying the relative authority of each manager. Span of control, the number of subordinates who report directly to a manager. Line manager, someone in the direct line or chain of command who has formal authority over people and resources at lower levels. Staff manager, someone responsible for managing a specialist function such as finance or marketing. Tall structures have many levels of authority and narrow spans of control, meaning you have very few people that report to you, but you have lots of layers. As hierarchy levels increase, communication gets difficult, creating delays in the time being taken to implement decisions, causing problems when there's a need for a rapid decision. Communication can also become distorted as it is repeated throughout the firm. The game of broken telephone, and such structures can become very, very expensive. The next figure talks about tall organizations, shows you an example of a tall organization with many, many layers and few employees reporting to each manager. Very, very top heavy, and of course expensive to keep all these managers around. Tall and flat organizations, a flat structure has fewer levels and wide spans of control. So the problem with that is, of course, you can have tired managers because you have more people reporting to them. But there is a payoff where you actually have better communication. Next slide. Centralization and decentralization of authority. Decentralizing authority, giving lower level managers and non-managerial employees the right to make important decisions about how to use organizational resources. Integrating mechanism. You have simple versus complex types and examples of integrating mechanisms. You can have different roles. You have liaison roles, marketing managers and research and development managers meet to brainstorm new product ideas. This breaks down the silos between organizations. Task forces, representatives from marketing, research and development, and manufacturing meet to discuss launch of new products. Cross-functional teams. A cross-functional team composed of all functions is formed to manage product to its launch in the market. Integrating roles and departments. Senior managers provide members of cross-functional team with relevant information from other teams and from other divisions. Let's talk about organizational culture. The shared set of beliefs, expectations, values, and norms that influence how members of an organization relate to one another and cooperate to achieve organizational goals. Organizational ethics, the moral values, beliefs, and rules that establish the appropriate way for an organization and its members to deal with each other and with people outside the organization. Figure 10.9, sources of an organization's culture. It could be the characteristics of the members of the organization, the employment relationship, the structure of the organization, whether it's tall or flat, and the ethics within the organization. Human resource policies, employment relations can influence how hard employees will work to achieve organizational goals, how attached they will be to the organization, whether or not they will buy into the values and norms. Then we speak about strong adaptive cultures versus weak and inert culture. Adaptive cultures, values, and norms help an organization to build momentum and to grow and change as needed to achieve its goals and be effective. Inert cultures, those that lead to values and norms that fail to motivate or inspire employees, lead to what we call stagnation and often failure over time. The next is a video of the Container Store. I highly suggest it. It's very, very interesting how they manage and how amazing the culture is in that organization. The next few slides are the appendices that we spoke out before. Thank you very much for joining. I hope you enjoyed the class. Please be well and stay safe.